Alright guys, give me a second. Gotta make sure my face is all lit up. Hi. Oh. Hurry up. Oh. Anyway, okay, so I want to talk for a minute here before we get started. So anybody who might be a little late or whatever, because actually, well, first of all, let me explain what happened last night. That temperature last night dropped so fast that it affected my body so bad that literally right before I got on, I was in excruciating pain. There was no way that I was gonna be able to do that. But it's okay. I'm doing it now. Um, you know. So before I get into the subject matter about understanding, it's funny. I have all this set up here. I have all these cameras and this microphone and the lights and the computer programs and stuff. I kind of have to stand back sometimes and think about, is this really my life? What I mean is, there was a day, a long time ago, where my life was basically consisted upon sitting on the corner of library steps in Dallas or walking around or whatever it may be. And I never foresaw me being able to do stuff like this. Not to say that I'm launching rockets like Elon Musk, but for me personally, it's still kind of awesome that I'm able to do this stuff now. You know what I mean? My my self-esteem is nothing like it used to be. Like I had such a no self-esteem back then. I have to smile to myself because even through my brother's death, I haven't had a sip of alcohol since October. Can y'all actually believe that though? Really think about that. That I have not had any alcohol, not a single sip, since October. I even was going to. I was in a lot of pain one day. I don't know, maybe was it November maybe? And I got some from Lori. I never drank it. I don't know. I was just thinking about that about myself. It's crazy. It's crazy when I think about my life. Just the stuff that I've done and stuff that I've been through, and that I've been through with other people, and that my life is just it's nothing like it was. There's no way for me to explain to you guys what it was like to be homeless, and I'm not gonna bother trying it. But I have to smile when I think about it because, yeah, I'm in a lot of pain. I have these moments where it's so bad, it's I don't know how I'm gonna get through it. But there's nothing worse than feeling like you're hopeless and things like that used to, with no future. There's nothing but the darkness of the hole that you're in. These are the things I think about, y'all. This is what, this is why I like it, because I like to keep myself grounded, because I don't ever want to be one of those people that, I start to do stuff and all of a sudden I forget where I came from. I can't stand people like that. But, all right. I think we can get started here. My name is Daryl Phillips, owner of Neuropology Gaming. What we do here is listen to you talk. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. What we do here is I discuss a lot of different subjects on a lot of different things. And the one thing the one goal, just one unified goal that I have, no matter what I'm teaching or where I'm teaching it from, is to help you guys either learn or get better. Add to your repertoire. Okay? And the specific subject matter tonight, understanding. I say it all the time. Be understanding of one another, not just from your perspective, but from theirs. Be understanding of yourself. I say those things at the end of the videos. But it dawned on me, I think it was like last week, that I just assumed everybody understood what I meant by that. But then I realized, you know what, there's probably a lot of people that don't understand exactly what I mean. That they think that I mean just be understanding of other people. No. You got to be understanding of yourself too. And I'll get into that. I hope that everybody had a great week last week. We're starting a new week. It's Sunday. If you guys went to church today, or if you guys stayed home and relaxed, there's a lot of people off tomorrow because it's a holiday in the United States. It's President's Day. Sophia's off, in fact. But we've been discussing critical thinking. Now, I will, as soon as I'm done with this live, I am going to go ahead and set the video ready to go for 4 o'clock tomorrow. No distractions. The next ingredient. And what we've been going through is the things that you ought to be thinking about when you have your alone time, when you have this time in which you are not being distracted by others or being distracted by life in general. And one of the things that you need to be thinking about is understanding on 2 levels. One, of yourself, and 2, of the either subject matter or the specific subject person that you are dealing with. So when you're asking for advice, you need to understand where they are coming from and why they are giving you that advice. Don't get mad. I'll give you an example of something. Something I got mad about many years ago. And it was silly because the other person was right. So I brought my then 7-8 month pregnant significant other over when I was with her to my dad's house. And my aunt and uncle looked at me, and they were, everybody liked her, or at least what they thought they knew of her. But my uncle, he said to me, "Well, Daryl, what are you going to do now?" Well, keep in mind that at the time, I had a job. Believe it or not, I worked for Altera, which is an Alzheimer's place. I was the receptionist person, and I opened the doors and stuff like that for the families of the patients there, okay, for the residents, and made sure that the residents didn't try to sneak out and things like that. Okay, so I had it paid pretty good. It was okay for that time. In fact, I think that was the highest paying job I've ever had. Really, it's a good job. Anyway, I liked that job. I loved those residents. I loved those ladies were awesome. There was this one lady. Oh, never mind. I'll tell you in a second. I'm getting a sidetrack. One of the residents, though, loved me, like was in love with me. She was 90 years old, and she used to tell me how she was going to marry me all the time. I loved her. She was awesome. She showed me a picture of her when she was younger, and she told me, see, I was good looking, wasn't I? She told Desiree to her face, you better watch your man. I'm gonna steal him from you. I loved her. But I had a good job. And I got really offended by that. I got really mad. And from the outside, you can understand maybe why I was upset by that. Maybe. But actually, they were right. They were right. I was wrong. What they were really asking me is, Daryl, your life just changed. Are you going to act differently? Are you going to act accordingly and be a father? Well, that's not what I was looking at it from. This is why being understanding from both sides, being understanding of yourself and of other people. See, from my uncle's perspective, they had children, my cousins, Christy, Chuck, and Beth. And they had raised children. In fact, they adopted another one years later. And from a Christian perspective, they were basically saying, you're not married, Daryl. Are you going to stick around? Are you going to be in this? You understand? Well, hindsight being 2020, they were right. I was wrong. I was wrong for getting mad. But let's just examine that little thing right there. What actually happened? Why did I get mad? I got mad because I was coming from a place of darkness. I got mad because I was not considering that they were actually trying to help me and not attack me. See, I had such a low self-esteem that my position was they were attacking me. You understand? So let's think about that. Why would I think that? Well, because from my perspective, I was obsessed with being like my biological father, and he was an abuser. He was evil. And so but then they didn't know that though. They didn't know my concerns because I kept it all inside. I didn't vent it to anyone. And because of that, I got really mad. Okay? See, my thought process on when you're deciding things, when you're making decisions about whatever it may be, being understanding doesn't mean you have to agree. But you do need to understand the point they're trying to make. Okay? So, if they're a Christian and you're not really a very religious person, you need to understand they're coming from a Christian perspective for the most part. Now, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of people that try to act holier than thou. They need to be more understanding. However, that just because someone else does something doesn't mean that you should, right? I can think of 1,000 scenarios, 1,000 things that have happened to me in which I've gotten mad at somebody. Because I was going through something, I was having some sort of bipolar moment, and I got offended by something somebody said, and it became bigger than it should have been. All right? This also applies to anything, actually. This thought process applies to anything. It also applies to if you're just asking for advice on anything. So if you're trying to ask advice on how to run a business, if you're asking advice to a person on how to run a business, for example, in my case, and that person gives you advice and you don't like it, that doesn't mean that the advice is wrong or that they were trying to attack you. You understand? It's silly how many times that I have gotten mad at somebody, or they've gotten mad at me for a misunderstanding because neither party tried to show understanding. I don't want to sound like I'm being whiny or anything, but there's a lot of people on this earth right now. Okay, that's a little over the top. There's a lot of people that have talked to me that really don't try to understand me. They try to understand me from how they were raised, or they try to understand me from how they look at it. And they never try to put themselves in my shoes. They never try to find common ground. When you're dealing with human beings, you have to find common ground or you're never going to get anything accomplished. I heard something today. Again, I listen to politics when I'm doing my work because I like to hear how they argue stuff. Excuse me, 1 second, please. So I like to hear the arguments of what people say. Okay, and I heard Marco Rubio give his speech because he was in Israel, and him and Benjamin Netanyahu, they were talking about the situation over there in Gaza and everything. Okay, and he said something very pointed. I can't even speak. Very direct, very understandable. He said, as long as Hamas wants to kill people and wants to exterminate a group of people, the Jews in this case, there can never be peace. You can never going to have peace so long as that person has that perspective. Now, some people might say, well, duh, Daryl. Okay, well, let's give something that isn't political. If you're a Christian, for example, and you're trying to convert an atheist, you are never going to get that atheist to believe in God if the first things out of your mouth are, you're going to go to hell. It's one of the things that I have tried to do for a long, long time when I talk to people. Is that I now, if you start to beat your drum towards me, I'm going to beat my drum towards you. In other words, if you start condemning Christianity and start calling Christ names and God names and Christians names, then I'm gonna point my weapon towards you. However, if we're having a conversation, one time I was in the gay area, the gay community down there in Dallas, and a bunch of Christians came in there with a big cross. They used to do it every year. I don't think that they do it anymore. But they used to come in there with a big cross, trying to convert a bunch of gay people, trying to get gay people not to be gay. With the F word coming out of their mouth, and other derogatory terms, and the word, you're going to burn in hell. Let me give you a clue. I'm not going to get into a religious conversation about this particular subject, but I'm just telling you what happened, what I saw. So when I saw this, I was down there, and I was homeless, and I saw this group of people come in there and try to be holier than thou. Getting a lot of people that I even knew, some of them I knew, all riled up and angry. Do you know who I sided with? I sided with the gay people. Not because I agree with them. I don't. It was because they came in there with condemnation in their heart, not with salvation. I'm not trying to hear that. And you're wrong when you come at things like that. If you're trying to help somebody and the words that are coming out of your mouth, for example, if you're trying to help an alcoholic, if the words coming out of your mouth are lush, drunk, deadbeat, so forth and so on, well, one thing, if you're directing it towards me, we're about to fight. Not physically. But you're not going to come at me like that. No matter how much kindness. I always love that. Kindness in your heart, but you're going to sit there and start with name calling. Not a real good way to do things. You know what I mean? And that goes with all subjects. Right? What if it's not something so serious? What if it's not something like that? What if it's just you want to move to a different state? You want to move to a different country? You want to move in general? How should you approach that situation? Well, depending upon how close you are to that person. In other words, are you friends with them? Are you good friends with them? Are you really good friends with them? So forth and so on. How well do you know that person? Well, the more you know that person, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to know where they're coming from. You need to know where a person's coming from at all times. For a true conversation, for learning to take place on both ends. By the way, the teacher can learn from the student just as well as the student can learn from the teacher. I expect you guys, whoever's watching, for you to ask me questions. And the end of the conversation isn't, wait for it, the end of the conversation is not the words, "That's your opinion." If that is the end of the conversation, it'll be maybe never again until you learn your lesson that you will ever ask me a question and I will answer it. If you're actually being serious about learning, the learning process on both ends, the end of the conversation is not, "That's your opinion." Not with me. You go talk to somebody else then. The reason being is, I can learn from you just as much as you can learn from me. And I want to learn from you. So I have to know about you. And the closer I am to you, the more I try to think about, okay, well, what has Lori been through? What has Tanya been through? What has Sophia been through? What did Dawn go through? And then I consider, okay, well, they've been through this. Well, maybe they're thinking about it this way. That's how information's gathered. Ding, ding, ding. It's not just I always tell people, I'm not Wikipedia. I'm not a dictionary. No, man. When you ask me a question, I expect you to ask me the question, but more than just listen. try to think it through. And I mean, on anything. Especially if it's a really serious thing. How do I get you, how do you get me to actually use your synapses, get them firing, and thinking it all the way through, considering the scenarios, considering all the different things that you might need, or either you might need or you won't need, or consider everything. And then know that there's a possibility that none of it's true, and be prepared for whatever it is that has nothing, maybe it's nothing that you've ever gone through before. See, part of growth, okay, part of growth, part of the exchange of information is not just one person asking the question and the other person answering. There's a togetherness about it. One day, if Sophia will ever allow me to do it, I really would love to record a conversation between me and Sophia when we just randomly talk about stuff. You ought to see how we are, how I was with Dwan, how I'm even with Lori. I've taught her, like when you can ask Lori, when we talk together, it's an exchange of information, not just a teacher-student thing. Yes, she may talk to me about something that maybe she doesn't know about, that she's truly asking me a question, and I'm teaching her something new. But when she's talking, I'm also learning. So it doesn't matter what she talks about. Lori doesn't know a quarter of the Bible like I do. But I promise you, I learned stuff from Lori. Really. So think about my voice is going on. Wow. Amazing. Think about critical thinking, all right? You have situation A over here, and all of a sudden you have to react in the moment. How do you react as proper as you can, even when you've never gone through it before? Well, there's always going to be a commonality between something you've been through and even that new item that you have not been through. There's always going to be something that you can go, oh, wait, now I have done that before. No, so what if that's how you figure out the solution. That's how you're going to figure out the solution to your life. The Bible says, as a Christian, you should listen to this. The Bible says, nothing is new under the sun. All right, let's examine that phrase for a second. Everybody thinks that, not everybody, but most people think that they know what that phrase means, but very few people actually know what God is trying to say to you, okay? Except for like preachers and those who study the Bible. Like my dad can answer the question. The phrase, nothing is new under the sun, you have to know a little bit about history to actually answer what he's trying to say to you in the first place. The common phrase back then for the idea of being without God is the phrase under the sun. Being under the sun is being without God. What the writer is saying to you is that in the world, throughout human history, from Adam to now, I apologize to atheists if you don't believe in the Bible, but you'll get what I'm saying anyway. From Adam to now is that there is nothing that you're going to do right now that is new under the sun. Nothing. meaning that you can live to 3,000 years old, 4,000 years old. You could be eternal. And nothing that when you walk down the street, nothing that you do that somebody hasn't done at least a version of. There is nothing new under the sun. Nothing. You just have to think about it. The answers are always around you. Always. Now, true, you don't want to be alone, which means you might have to have help from your friends or your family or loved ones or whatever, or even your enemies. But the answers are here. The answers to every question you will ever know are around you. They're in books. They're in people. They're in actions. They're when you walk down the street. They're on some bench where a homeless guy's sitting. There is no such thing as a question that cannot be answered. No such thing. Will it be, is everything the same exactly? Of course not. Does that mean it's new? No. It does not mean it's new. New means new, like a baby. Baby, a new member of your family. Oh, I had a baby. That's a new human. Knowing that fact alone can give you courage to know that somewhere the answer's there. Somewhere. Will you need help to find out? Sure, maybe. But think about that. Nothing is new under the sun. Knowing that fact has gotten me through so many things. Why, Daryl? Because I don't have a college education. Because I'm smart enough to know that here's where you have to add things like patience and diligence to your repertoire. Sometimes just sitting around and just being patient, the answer will eventually come to you. Not some thing from space where it hits you in the head. I mean, something will happen where the answer will be provided to you. I'm not even a gambler. I will bet every one of you an entire month worth of my check. An entire month worth of my check. Okay, don't take me seriously because I can't give you that to you. But you see my point. But I'll bet you an entire month worth of my check that you cannot stump me. I will bet you anything. Not because I studied it today, but because I always reference things that has already happened. Warfare, politics, religion, family, name a subject. Because I'm such a genius. No. Because I'm diligent enough and because I know in the back of my head that phrase is true. Just by knowing that phrase is true, I have discovered so many answers to so many questions that has helped me along. Everybody asks me, how were you able to change like you did? That's how. That's one of the giant reasons how. It is the most awesome thing to know because it means that someone isn't going to come to me and try to trick me and me go, well, I didn't know. No. Will I come up with it right that second? No. Not all answers can be answered right away. Process matters, don't you think? But do y'all follow me? So be an understanding of one another, connected with that right there, can help you help so many people, help yourself, help your family. Trust me, man. It's pretty awesome to think about that sometimes we're such silly people as humans. We will go and walk around and we think that the answer will never be found. And it makes us sad, especially when we're trying to help somebody or help ourselves. The more truth you uncover about these questions that I try to give you guys, these subject matters, the more you will see what I did was hard, but what I did was also not hard, because it was always there. You just have to have the patience to actually do it. I used to tell myself, Daryl, you're never going to be like other people. Let's examine that for a second. Was that true or false? Well, it was neither, because it was the wrong perspective. See, once you start to discover the answer, you're going to discover, oh my God, I wasn't even in the right spot to begin the examination of the answer. In this case, why is it neither? Because think about this. Sometimes it's an answer like, how do you nail two pieces of wood together? How do you use a hammer? Sometimes it's a simple answer like that. Well, sometimes it's an answer like, how do you get those two pieces of wood together and then build something awesome like a cabinet or something? Well, you have to know how to nail a piece of wood together first. All of these things that I've done to try to help myself has led me to this moment right here, in which I'm sitting here on YouTube talking to you guys, trying to give you guys a little insight, a little enlightenment on how to make yourselves better. Not because I'm God or because I'm a king or president. I'm just Daryl Phillips. I wanted to help, and I found out a way to use my journey to help you guys slowly, and we discover the answers together. It's not you guys coming to me. It's we discover them together. Now, yes, true. It's not under the sun. It is actually under the sun, S-U-N, Lori. That's incorrect. That's an Old Testament verse. Sorry, Lori. It's under the sun. It's not under the sun, because the sun wasn't revealed, Lori. But anyway, I digress. Excuse me. So anyway, some people, that's a lesson that some of you guys need to learn too, is sometimes you don't just open your mouth when you actually don't know what you're talking about. If you don't know math that well, maybe you just listen to the lesson. But anyway, but check this out. That's the answer to the question that everybody always asks me. Well, ask me this question all the time about how do I get through things? How did I get through homelessness? How did I do those things? Well, when I back when I was in the moment, it was just survive. That's the answer to the question. And survival is a human thing. But when I think about it now, if I would be in the situation now, it would be different. And that would be the answer to that question. It's not always the same answer. Not exactly. But you gain knowledge throughout time. You gain knowledge throughout time. And it's not a cookie cutter answer. Human beings aren't cookies. If I was a cookie, I guess that would be a mint chocolate chip. No, I don't know. It's not a cookie cutter answer. You can glean knowledge from the things you've already learned, but it's not going to always be the same answer. And if it is the same answer, then you're living by yourself. If people don't go to you for advice, there might be a reason why. And maybe the reason why is because, that's for you to discover that. The reason why, even when I try to avoid it, people come to me for advice. Before this business started, in fact, before Dwan started staying here, I guess this is around 2015, 16. And I was trying to convince myself that I would be satisfied with just being on SSI and being satisfied with that. Just like I do here, I would go out on my patio and I would talk to neighbors and things. Well, I can't tell you how many times that I'd be sitting there back on the patio and one of my neighbors would come up to me and ask me some advice on something that they had a problem with. One guy had a problem with his relationship with his wife. Did I have a sign out front saying, please come to me for advice? It's because of my willingness to listen to their answers and come from their perspective. So instead of going, well, my relationships were like this, my mother and father, blah, blah, blah. No. I glean information from my experiences, but it's always, well, what was your situation like in your situation? I asked Lori and I asked Tanya and Sophia how their childhood was. Unless I open my mouth, I don't speak about my childhood, for example, because it's not useful. Unless I'm telling a cute story or a funny story, it's not useful for advice things. Okay, unless we're like just telling stories, funny, cute stories or whatever. Because I was raised in a preacher's household. I don't expect people to know for example, I literally every single day while I was married would sit there and get into my Bible and study my Bible every single day. From the moment I decided I was going to get married, and I realized that the only only true advice I really was going to try to be right to be a husband, because I didn't know how to be a husband, was from God. Well, I knew I needed to read my Bible. That's how I am. I don't want incorrect information. So I wasn't trying to go to love doctors or try to ask advice from my neighbor about their marriage. I was going to go from the only advice that I ever needed in my belief system. Now, if you're an atheist, then you can go do whatever you want to. But in my belief system, I'm a Christian. Why would I go to my neighbor when the Bible tells you how to find a mate? Who's a good husband? Who's a bad husband? Who's a good wife? Who's a bad wife? What's the proper things that need to be? That you need to be a father, to be a husband, to be a mother, to be a wife. Why would I go to somebody else? From a Christian perspective, what point is it? Except to ask how they are and how they deal with this particular aspect of Christianity in their marriage. But the backbone is always the Bible, not my neighbor's opinion. Period. That's because I'm a Christian. Now I lost that for a while. Why? Because I lost myself for a while. But I can assure you that's my backbone in all things, especially this stuff this serious, is never, ever, 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 ever going to be even Sophia's opinion. I may ask her an opinion on stuff like this to find out how she deals with this aspect of Christianity. But if her word contradicts Scripture, it's not the Bible that's the wrong thing. It's the person's advice, which is why it's the backbone. And that's how you glean information from other people. That's how I do it. You understand? Unless we're talking about what kind of car you're going to get, or how far it is to this place, or where's a good hotel to stay in a certain city maybe that you've been in. Unless it's stuff like that in the world. But if it's stuff like this, marriage, divorce, happiness, sadness, bipolar disorder. Did you know that the first historical case of bipolar disorder is in the Bible? King Saul. King Saul he had bipolar. Fact. Psychiatrists, ones that are even atheists, study that because it's a classic example of bipolar disorder. Think about it. King Saul tried to kill David, and then when he needed to be comforted, at the very next moment, it would comfort him to have King David play the lyre for him to comfort him. Manic depression. There is no answer, no matter what your doctor's degree is, that I'm going to go to you first before that's my backbone, and that's how you don't go astray. Fact. Now I didn't mean to get all religious, but I'm trying to tell you with the understanding part, so you guys understand, or your understanding of where I'm coming from. That's great for me to be understanding of you, but many people are not understanding where I'm getting my advice from. It's not from Daryl. And if you want to discuss my interpretation of Scripture, by all means. People do all the time, and I will show you. I don't want contradictions in my life. My entire life has been a contradiction because of my bipolar. Everything's just up and down. So for me to change my life, I should be dead by now, guys. Do you think I want to be wrong on this? Well, that's why we have conversations. That's why we talk about these things. That's why I want you to understand that this stuff I'm telling you is not some worldly viewpoint in which I gain through the white wisdom of homelessness. No, much of what I knew. I'll tell you the worst part about all of this stuff is that much of this I knew even as I was completely violating my own belief system. Back in the day, I'm talking about. It's a shame to myself, and it's something that I was messed up in the head, and I contradicted a lot of stuff I did back in the day. Because I hated myself, because I hated God, I blamed God for him giving me bipolar disorder. And so, me teaching things like this I didn't really want to even deal with mental illness, to be honest with you. now that I have the correct perspective, and I have hope in my life because see how far I've come, and I see other people, my friend, my brother Dwan, who's no longer with us, I see how much he changed. That's why he was able to change like he did. It wasn't because Daryl's so special. It was because he also loved his God. He knew everything. From our study of the Bible, he knew everything I said was true. Not because Daryl is so right, but because God is. It's the most wonderful piece of information I will ever give you guys. And the other channel I want to change, that I'm going to be changing, we'll dive really deep into the biblical aspect of this stuff to show you that this is not some genius thing. Oh, the business and stuff is the way I want to do it is pretty ingenious the way I'm doing it. But the actual words, the advice, no different than you. I just study my Bible, and I don't want to pretend I do, like many people do. There's many people who will say, "Well, see, I'll go to church." I don't care. I don't care how often you go to church. That's not good enough. We're talking about serious stuff here. So that's where I'm coming from. So when I'm speaking to you, I hope that you guys are understanding of where this advice is coming from. That my backbone is always the truth, not my truth. I always hate that phrase, my truth. What's your truth? No. If you don't like the way I say things and how I interpret maybe a verse or something, we can have a discussion. And I can show you why and where I get it from. That's fine. But just understand that I'm pretty smart. I'm not smart enough to come up with an entire philosophy. Okay, maybe I am a little bit, but not like this. This is serious stuff, and I don't want to lead you guys astray. By the way, that is also a sin. Giving you guys advice that knowing that you could possibly fall off a cliff. That is me going to hell. I might as well have just died years ago then. If I'm going to sit there and give you advice and know that you guys could fall off a cliff, all to make myself better, then you know what? I should have died years ago. And what was the point of any of this? No. That's what me and Dwan talked about all the time. That was one thing that a core part of this business is to make sure that we get it right, not fast. It's not about how fast I can give you the answer. It's about, is it right? Not whether or not you accept it. There's a lot of things I say that people go, "Oh my God, no, la, 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 la," because they're used to doing it a certain way. So, I hope you guys learned something tonight. I'm going to try to finally finish up this video. I didn't get to do anything last night because of how bad I was in pain. I just want you to know something too. I love you guys. Really. Love is not based upon that word. Love is based upon action. And I hope that I show it to you guys. Right before I got on, I didn't know if I was hoping I was not going to have a repeat of last night, but I was in a little bit of pain before I got on. But I told myself to get on. And you know what? It's funny. I feel a lot better. I love teaching you guys. I do. There isn't any place on this earth I'd rather be. Maybe you guys find stuff that I talk about boring. But I hope you find it educational. I try to be as entertaining as I can be. But this is not about your entertainment. This is not what this channel is for. This channel is for your growth, for your learning. So, if you guys have to be at work tomorrow or whatever, I hope you guys have a good night's sleep. Hope you guys are safe when you travel. And I'm going to be putting up that video as soon as we're done here. I'll be putting up that video so that you guys can watch it, the no distractions video. That'll go up and get ready for about 4 o'clock is when it'll launch. But I want you guys to really understand what I just said. The understanding. That's the point. The understanding of one another, not just from your perspective, but from theirs. I can't get you guys to come towards an answer or the truth, one, without a backbone. A human being cannot stand without a skeleton. Well, neither can you advice given to you. They cannot stand without facts. My facts? No. The facts. It's not mine. I didn't create it. So I hope you guys are better understanding of where I come from when I talk, so that you guys know that this isn't just Mr. Know-It-All. That I'm using the truth. That's all it is. No more, no less. That's all I offer you. And hopefully it will open up your mind, open up a world so far beyond anything that you've ever seen, that you will know what's going on. That you will be able to get answers to your life if you need them. And to know that it's not that even if I die, just like Dwan passed, that you will always have the answers. But this lives forever. The truth always lives forever because it has no agenda. So be understanding of one another, not just from your perspective. And again, be understanding of yourself. Not everybody can just get up off the map. Sometimes you get beat down so bad that you stay down. Well, let's give everybody a hand up and a hand out. You don't have to support people. And if you see someone trying to come out of the fog, don't just watch them flounder about. Give them a torch so that they may light their way. And if they're too scared, because it is scary, it's scary trying to do things for the first time by yourself when you've been, maybe you're an alcoholic, maybe you're a drug addict, maybe you just never have been able to learn how to do things on your own, especially with mental illness. Help guide that person out. Teach them how to walk with the torch. And again, it is their decision, and it sucks when this happens, but if they choose, you can't let them be codependent on you forever. But if they choose they don't want to carry the torch on their own, you're going to have to let them go. It's awful for me. It's awful every time I have to let a friend know that I'll talk to you, I'll be friends with you, but you're not listening to my advice. And I have too much to do. Too many people need help today for me to waste my time on one person if they're not even going to try to walk themselves. And it sucks every time I have to make that decision. So think about that. Remember, life is fleeting. You are not promised your next breath. So take now, go outside your box, learn something different. You never know what you might learn about yourself. Until tomorrow, may the Lord light guide you in all things. Goodbye.